What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a low to medium bald fade and we're going to drop it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my bald guideline with my trimmers. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to create the shape and I want it to be as low as possible. So by me doing this, it keeps my lines lower than if I were to just go in and start debulking. After I set in that bottom guideline, I'm going to follow up with my lever all the way open. And I'm going to be going up about ½ an inch for this cut. And I'm making sure to flick out so I can get a smooth transition for my guards that I'm going to be using next. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to be debulking along the parietal ridge. The reason why I'm doing this is because the client wants the hair not to stick out as much, and when it grows back, he doesn't want it to be as full up there. And by me doing this, it'll stretch out the blend, and it'll also be able, it'll also allow me to keep it low. Now that I'm done debulking with my number 3, I'm going to follow up with my number 2 guard, lever all the way open, and then I'm going to close it halfway, and then I'm going to close it fully. This is just going to lighten up the hairs underneath that number 3 guard, and it's going to allow me to have a better and a smoother transition. And then I'm following up immediately with a number 1.5 guard, and I'm using the same process for each guard. Lever all the way open, halfway closed, and then fully closed. And once I get to this number 1 guard, this is where I'm really going to focus on my detail work and focus on getting that smooth transition. Because I started the blend low and his hair is lighter, it's going to make the hair look even shorter as you use a lower guard because his hair is light. So you don't have that contrast with dark hair that you do with his hair color. Now you can see I'm just staying below that number 1.5 guard, and I'm always flicking out, and I'm making sure to, always brush and clean the canvas off as I'm working. This way it just ensures a clean surface. Throughout this process, you're going to see the blend lightening up, and I'm also noticing darker spots as I'm going through, so I do take the flicks a little bit higher than I normally would. Typically you want to stay below and no higher than the guard you previously used, but sometimes depending on the the surface of his scalp, it may have dents, it may have divots, it may not be completely smooth and even, the hair may not be as dense, so sometimes you just want to detail as you're going along, and that's basically what I do. And now that's finished, I'm going to be following up again with my half guard. And I use all the guards. I don't typically jump guards. For me, I like having that smooth transition from a 3 all the way down to the lever closed. And the way that I've been blending and how I do my blends, it works the best for me. And as you can see, as I'm going along the head and I'm flicking out and I'm doing my blend and closing the lever, I'm making sure to stay with the shape of my initial guideline. That's very important, and that's how you're going to get that symmetry between each guard that you use. You want to try and follow the same method that you use for each guard. Now that that's done, I got a little close up so I could show you guys the hair a little bit better. We were further away, his hair's a little bit lighter, so it's harder to see. Now you can really see the detail work that I'm about to put in. Same thing with my no guard, starting with lever all the way open, and I'm slowly going to be closing the lever until I'm able to blend out that bottom guideline. And all of my tools are gapped to where each tool goes into the next. So my foil shavers go right into my trimmers, and my trimmers typically go right into my lever close with these JRLs that I got. I've got the Faber blade on it. I do not have the original taper blade from JRL. I swapped it out with the Faber, or also known as the Fusion blade by Stylecraft and Gamma. And if you notice, I haven't gone down to the occipital bone in the back where the spine and the skull connect. I'm leaving that darker so that once I go to the back of the head, I'm able to round it out. And as you can see right here, I'm finishing up the blend, getting out that line, and I'm just going to do a little bit of detail work. Got my lever all the way open, and I'm just flicking out on any dark spots that I see. This way you're going to get that smooth blend, and it's going to stretch that blend across the head because I'm not doing a tight transition. And now I'm just going to be following the same steps. Created my initial guideline to get that shape. debulking with my number 3 guard, going from open, medium to close. And then I'm following up again with my number 2 guard, all the way open, closing it halfway, and then closing it all the way full. Once I'm done with that, and I'm done lightening up that parietal ridge area, I'm gonna follow up immediately with my number 1.5 guard. Same thing here, guys, all the way open, closing it halfway, and then I'm gonna be closing it fully, and I'm always staying below my previous guard. This way you don't raise up that blend. And I used to do that a lot when I first started. I'd always raise up the blend, and I'd always push the blend up, and I wasn't able to get it to where I want, because it's the shape that we're blending. So you want to follow the same principle and the same concepts, the same flick pattern, and you want to keep the same guidelines that you do while you're going through these guards. After that 1.5, dropping it down to a number 1, all the way open, halfway closed, fully closed. And this side of the head, the way his hair was growing and the fullness and the density of it is a little bit darker than the other side. And not everyone's head is going to have the same exact evenness throughout the entirety of the head. So it's going to be different. Everyone's hair grows different on each side of their head, different parts of their head. So you have to keep that in mind when you're blending. And when you're blending on someone who's got either blonde, thin, or a lighter hair texture, whether it's medium brown to light brown or even lighter than that, you have to be mindful that the lower the guard that you use, the lighter the hair is going to appear, because they don't have dark hair. And if they have thinner hair, where the hair strand itself is actually thinner than coarse hair, it'll appear to be lighter as well. And as I'm using this half guard, guys, I'm really making sure to get any of the dark spots that I see. Just making sure to flick out and try and keep that same shape that I did on the other side. And I'm also following the shape that I created with my trimmers when I set in that initial bald line. Now I'm done with that. I'm going to follow up immediately with no guard, and I'm going to attack this with my lever all the way open. And as you can see, there still is a little bit of line of demarcation from the half guard, because I wasn't able to get the hair fully. So I'm just going to do a little bit of detail work, taking that lever all the way open, just a little bit higher than I normally would, just to lighten up those spots and kind of smoothen out that line that was left over. The same process, keeping the lever all the way open when I start, and I'm slowly closing it. Now this is going to protect that you don't raise up that blend. You're not digging into the previous guard you just used. And if you do jump guards and you're skipping a guard, if you go too high, you're really going to notice that you're digging into the previous guard that you were just using. So this right here, always brushing the hair, making sure that it's clean. And as you can see, you know, it's coming out. The blend, it's just there, man. It's popping. So detail work right here, just getting them together, getting some spots that I noticed that are darker. And I'm just making sure that, you know, this is going to be a nice smooth blend for the client. And right here, there's some other spots that are a little bit longer. So I'm going to make sure to get that and do some more detail work. I don't want to have any lines of demarcation, and I want there to be a smooth transition. So I'm just going through and doing some detail work to lighten up those spots that I did not get with my previous guards. And once I'm done with the detail work, guys, I'm going to connect the left side and the right side of the head by blending the back of the head. Now I'm starting with my number 1 guard, because underneath the occipital bone in the back, you can see there's a little bit of a divot, like a valley, right? And the hair is kind of stacked up on top of each other. I want that to be lighter, but I don't want it to be too light, and I don't want to keep it dark. So I started with my number 1 guard all the way open, slowly closing it. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to move on to my half guard. And I'm going to be doing the same steps. I'm going to be starting with it open, halfway closed, and then fully closed. And as you can see right here, guys, I got my half guard all the way open, slowly closing it, all the way closed, and then I'm just going to blend out this bottom line. And my main goal is to keep the shape, keep that roundness, and not take that blend too high. Because if I take that blend too high, it's not going to look even. with the sides, I still want to have that nice round smooth shape in the back. And right here I got my no guard on it lever all the way open, and I'm just slowly closing the lever, and I'm going to utilize all the clicks. I think there's 5 clicks on this JRL lever. I'm going to utilize all 5 clicks, and I'm going to make sure that this gets blended out. Now let's move on to the styling of this hair. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be pulling the hair from the front of the bangs right behind the recession point, because that's where I want the hair to lay. I don't want to cut too far in front of the recession point in the corner of his head, because I don't want the hair to be too short to where it doesn't blend into my top guideline the way I want it to. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go from right to left across the bangs of his head, and then I'm going to bring that guideline that I took, and I'm going to be using about 5 to 6 sections, and I'm going to be cutting the hair, and I'm doing an outline of where I want all the hair to be. Then I'm just going to follow up, and I'm going to be doing the same process all throughout the head. Right here, as you can see, I'm working in the middle of the head now. Same thing, pulling the hair back, finding the hairs that are longer, and I'm clipping the hairs and I'm cutting the hairs with my scissors to that point. Now that that's done, I know my client's hair, I know how it sits. I'm just over directing the bangs to lay down forward, and I'm just slowly clipping the hairs so that they sit properly when brushed up. Now I'm hitting it with the lineup, and you don't see it, but I blow dry his hair. I don't use any product, but this is the final result, guys. As you can see, we got a drop fade on the client. It's a low to medium drop fade. Let me know what you think. That's the final cut, man. We got him together, got him combed over, and he's looking fresh. So that's our goal, man. We want to bring confidence back to these guys. So that's the video. Like, comment, and share, y'all.